Alright, this is like, I don't know, take 5, I think. So I started over at the park earlier. I was going to try to do a video there, and it was just not working out for me. And then I realized, I started thinking about some things I had kind of processed through this morning that I wanted to do today. And I decided, instead of focusing on the video first, I was going to go over to my storage unit and take a picture of a bunch of things that I'm going to post for sale. I woke up this morning kind of stressed out, overly concerned on the financial end of things, and of course my life experience has been like super, especially with my family, super pessimistic and like poverty consciousness mindset. And one of the things I can tell I am being worked on is to get out of that tendency. So this morning I woke up and I did some writing and was trying to brainstorm what I have, just like what I personally can do to try to make some money on that end really quick, right? And then I was thinking I have the stuff in storage, and like the bed has been a bit of a concern lately, because of course I got the full-size bed from my that was my niece's, that she hardly ever slept in because she was afraid of their upstairs, so she was sleeping in the living room downstairs. I got the bed, but then I've been kind of concerned here lately because it's like, today it feels like fall. It feels like fall is moving in. And my storage unit is not climate controlled. And I know they have like packs of, I don't know if it's decon or whatever it is, but all of the little storage units have little, what I assume is mouse poison or deterrent, whatever. And so I was thinking, it's like I really don't want the bugs or anything else in the bed, because the bed's in great shape and I would like to keep it that way. And I just kept seeing me ending up in this space, that house that I've been seeing a lot lately, and thinking about putting the bed in the space after it's been in storage for like for a few months or whatever, and just being concerned about like bugs or whatever. So it's like, since I'm already trying not to freak myself out overly about that, like it's wrapped up in plastic, but not real well. The issue with the plastic is, what I had was like these plastic drop cloths for painting, and I had it packaged up really well, duct taped in and everything. And then my brother and niece ended up staying in their house up here longer than anticipated, and I went and unpacked it so I could take the mattress back to them, which they then never used, because they put part of the couch back together. So I just fucked up my packaging for nothing. But since I helped them move out to Oklahoma, they had their king bed, and like the mattress was wrapped in plastic, and it was actually a mattress storage protector thing. So I just hijacked that one from them because it wasn't ripped anywhere or anything, and I brought that back, and both the box springs and the mattress fit in it. But even with all the plastic, I haven't been able to maneuver it well enough, and I didn't have the duct tape when I was putting it all back together. So it's not ideal, and I've been concerned about it. And I'm trying not to concern myself about it, because I also know that the more you worry about things, the more likely the thing you're worried about is going to happen, because you fed it all this energy to, you just wasted all the energy on worrying about something that may never happen, but you kind of also invited in So I figured, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to go ahead and post it online and see if I can get some money out of it. Because I got to pay the storage unit for September. That's due on the 31st. And then I have a couple other bills. But I'm also going to my concert next, I think it's Friday night, which I think is the 31st. And ideally, if I could get a shirt at the concert, I would like that very much. There's something about concert shirts rather than just finding something at some random store. But, yeah. So that was kind of, like, when I was thinking about it this morning, of course the priority is the bills, and especially the storage unit, because I have a bunch of stuff there, right? So I have to pay that one. I want to stay on top of that one so I don't lose access to my stuff. And really, all I need is like $15 more than what I have in my bank account, and I will be able to cover that. But still, got to get the little bit of cash flow coming somewhere. So I decided to go over there, take a bunch of pictures of things, found more things to post than I even anticipated. The bummer is I forgot to take the tape measure with me, so on some of the things that I post. Other bummer, I'm not posting them on Facebook Marketplace, because if I do that, my mom's going to have her nose in everything, and I really am not interested in it. I've talked on here before about like the Foot Locker that I've had since undergrad. It's this real heavy duty plastic. For a while, it was just like basically my portable junk drawer, and I finally was like, I don't use any of this shit. I don't need it, and obviously, there's no sense in just keeping it around to move. So I like went through and I got rid of a bunch of stuff, and then I was going to sell the Foot Locker, and mentioned something in passing to my mom about, hey, I'm going to sell this, thinking I'm going to get some money out of it. And immediately she says, don't get rid of it. I could use it if you don't want it. It's like, you're missing the part where I want the money out of it. However, if anything comes up like that this time around, I'm going to tell her she can buy it off of me, because that's why I'm trying to sell it. Is for the money. But yeah, anyway, trying not to get really negative on shifting back into the poverty consciousness mindset. That's not helpful for anyone. And I'm trying to move beyond that so I can actually find things to do that I want to do, small business type stuff, right? I have a bunch of ideas. But I know that, like, one of the biggest things is the more set on not having enough you are, like, the more your mind goes to that place, the harder it is to allow for better to come to you. The universe is abundant. The universe has all sorts of means to make things happen. But if I'm always blocking myself, that's not going to get me anywhere. And especially with my family, it has been so ridiculously hard to get out of that poverty consciousness mindset. And I'm trying. Sometimes it's easier than others. Of course, since Gracie moved halfway across the country, it made it a little trickier. But I also know everything that's going on right now, I can see how it's something that is the universe working on me to work it out of my system, because it's essentially blocking me. So there's my evening project. But when I was over at the park trying to do a video there, it's just like I just could not shake this icky feeling, and it was all depressed and blah and whatnot. And then I had like a 20-minute video in, and it's like, I can't listen to this. I can't do this anymore, because I can't listen to myself do this, because it sounds like ridiculous, and I'm not trying to continue putting that energy out into the world around me, right? So, honestly, there was a big snag as far as it's like, you know what, I'm going to find a bathroom before I leave, and then I'm going over to the storage unit. So I did that. Well, and I think I actually was at the bathroom. That was the thing that said, go to the storage unit, and we can come back to the video thing. Like, that's just, put a pin in that. We're going to come back to it, because it's just not working out right now. So, went to the storage unit, did that, feel immensely better. Something about just moving toward something useful changes everything. And I think part of my struggle on that today too was, okay, so I woke up this morning and I did some writing, because of course I have this, I talk about my visions a lot, and how every now and then something will, I'll see something that I put up, little messages for myself, and then all at once I see them as a combined message. And like the big one on that end was the posters on the hutch of my desk, where I looked at them together one day, and all at once I saw the combined message of, write, the universe provides, trust the process. And, all very legit messages for me in and of themselves, but then when I saw it together, it's like, okay, direction. So this morning, when I was kind of worrying my way through this, what am I going to do phase, I started writing, because, the message popped back in. It's like, write. That's what I can do. I can write. So I got my first I was looking on Vocal Media, because of course I went ahead and got the membership for that again, and as a means of trying to make more of a habit of writing and putting what I write out in the world again. Been kind of dragging my feet on that one too. But it's there for me, right? So the first thing I did was I started looking on Vocal. I know they have some challenges going on right now for the possibility of winning some money. Of course, if you don't sabotage yourself and set it up so you can't win anything from it because it sucks, which is what I was doing the first time that I signed up for it and made some attempts at any of the contests. But I had my bear picture since then. I won something since then. So now I don't have that block of I can't win anything. Because like with the bear picture, as I've talked about many times, I would not have entered that contest at all had it said anything about a prize package. Because automatically my mindset was, I can't win something. What I have to offer isn't good enough to win something. Since it didn't have that mention, like the prize, if you will, was the opportunity for my picture to be the centerfold for the Zoo magazine spring summer edition. So it's like, okay, maybe somebody else will enjoy a picture that I appreciated, right? So because I posted like a bunch of things from Zubu 2023 on Facebook, not a damn person saw them, and like there were some really cool pictures in there that I was like kind of excited about, and like nobody said anything about anything that time around. It's like, all right, well maybe somebody, maybe me entering this contest, maybe somebody else will get some enjoyment out of some of these pictures. So after I submitted it, I kind of walked away from it, didn't think anything else about it, and didn't really think about it again until January when I found out that I won. I was like, oh, detachment helps. But even then, like when they contacted me about it, and of course I had to fill out some paperwork to give them permission to use my pictures for their magazine, for souvenirs or whatever else they might want to use it for. And she mentioned at that point, or the lady that got back to me said that there was a prize package, and that she would send it out to me, right? had I known about the prize ahead of time, that would have sabotaged everything, because I did not deem myself to be worthy of having something win. Because, as I've talked about many times, my family has, made sure to instill that I don't feel like anything I do is worthwhile, because they're going to piss on it if I try to put forth any kind of effort. So it's like this way that they have conditioned me in my lifetime to accept that I'm not worthy of doing anything better. Because how do you condition somebody to be stuck as, somebody you can just siphon the life out of? You can't, if they have anything worthwhile to motivate them to get away from that situation, they're not going to just let you suck the life out of them. Not realistically. So, that was something that my family was always kind of, cutting me down all the ways they possibly could. And, talked about the drumline thing before with, we won the national, Winter Guard Internationals, but there was, one group from Japan, and it was not in our class, so it's like, it's kind of national, kind of international, I guess, but whatever. Anyway, we won World, and, it's this big thing. I'm part of the leadership, and when me and Tyler were getting ready, when we were getting ready to go on the floor for awards, I immediately was like, I want Paul there too, because Paul's been like this hugely important figure in my life. I want him to be able to participate in this moment too. And so I just looked at Tyler real quick. I was like, we should have seniors go out there, because I knew you can't just, play favorites and have this guy because I like him, but I don't like these other two, so leave them behind. So it had to be all the seniors got to go do the thing, right? Even the two that I didn't particularly care for. But, neither here nor there. Anyway, when we ended up winning, and it was like a pretty decent, I think it was like 2.3 points away from the second place group. So it was a pretty decent win. The parents all come down from the stands, and everybody's celebrating, and they're playing the music, and everybody's having fun, and I'm trying to swallow my pride to go talk to my mom and to thank her for her part in, in the behind the scenes stuff that did help make it possible. And before I could say anything to her, she said, I deserve this as much as you do. It's like, clearly it is nothing for me. This is not my thing. I was like one of the section leaders, but clearly that was not my thing at all. Like, why am I even here? But like, that was my past. So because of that, I went into self-destruct mode anytime it came to doing anything else, right? So the picture, I wouldn't have entered the contest if it had said prize package ahead of time. And when she said prize package, it's like, oh, okay. It's like, I definitely, I just felt that connection of, had I known there was a prize package, I would not have put in for this opportunity. Now, that's really ridiculous when you think the prize was 4 passes for either free animal feedings or rides. So they had like a train, or they had like a little roller coaster, or they had this little carousel. I was like, what the hell is the thing that spins? Carousel. There it is. It's like, how sad would it have been to completely self-destruct and not even take the opportunity because I didn't deem myself worthy of 4 passes to do something for free like that. It's like, that's really sad. But that would just, the prize package enough, or a little bit itself, was enough that I would have just gone into self-destruct mode. I've realized that a lot of my tendency to procrastinate, and that procrastination is self-sabotage, and a lot of what I've been doing all my life has been self-sabotage, because shit happens with my family, and then they hijack the moment. even with the picture, while I was filling out the paperwork for the zoo, while I was trying to print it off the paperwork for the zoo to have permission to use my picture, my parents found a way to hijack the moment and make it about them then. And, I spent the rest of the day, after I just won this contest, the first thing I think I've ever won like that by myself, and then I spend the rest of the day crying because my moment got completely hijacked. It's like, this is why I've not done more in my life. This is why I always self-destruct. Now, what can I do to change this, right? So, we are working on this. This is taking a lot of effort on this process. Anyway, so this morning, I'm just kind of going back and forth with these thoughts and just like really struggling with it. It's like, I cannot do this. I have, the message pops into my head, right? The universe provides, trust the process. So, since I wasn't going to do the contest thing right at that moment, or the challenge that they have available, it's like I was too distracted with the poverty consciousness bullshit to be able to focus on trying to do anything worthwhile there. But, I saw the posters kind of flash in my head, and I was like, I can journal. And I do need to do that because I can process this out of my system, and address all the things. This is what I'm concerned about. This is what I would like to have the funds for. Okay, obviously to pay the bills, the storage unit is the one of greater concern because that's the one that has a lot of my stuff there. But also, as a bonus, it would be nice to be able to get a shirt when I go to the concert, right? So, the third metal concert I go to by myself, and I've also I saw Luke Severide, the metal comedian. I saw him by myself also. So all these metal things I'm doing by myself. And, the first one, I was, super anxious on that, and that was, rough, because that was, early on in the twin flame thing, I'm starting to make changes, right? Starting to try to heal some really heavy stuff that has been a struggle. Going back to when I realized who this guy is to me, this twin flame connection, it was like listening to one of his songs on YouTube over and over again, and that voice chimes in with, that's him, that's the one you've spent your whole life looking for. It's like, yeah, right, he's out of my league. That was my first response, right? So there's a lot to be healed on this whole journey, right? So I go to, the first concert I went to by myself, the entire way over to the fairgrounds, I had to just keep telling myself over and over again, I am safe. Everything will be okay. The universe did not bring me this far just to let me, to kill me off in the end scene kind of a moment. We're not we're finally, we've done all this work. We've done a whole lot of healing work, even before the really in-depth healing stuff that the twin flame connection has spurred on, right? So it's we didn't come this far just to come this far. It's this isn't a big lead up to absolutely nothing happens except for she gets killed in this scene, right? So the entire way over there, it's I am safe. The universe has my back. This will be okay, because my family has very much been beating that into my head throughout my entire life, right? Everything's so dangerous and scary, and, people can, whatever. Anyway, and my grandpa was still alive at that point in time. So, he died December 2024. So, that was a year before he croaked, and thank God he finally did. But, I digress. Again. But, every time, that the voices were saying, freak out, or, the ego's trying to keep me freaking out about something, and, I was trying to silence their voices in my head, the voices of my parents and my grandparents. It's this will be okay. I am perfectly safe. And that first concert I went to by myself was everything. It was I have to be here. Like, I know nothing else other than I have to be here. And since then, it's kind of, the next one I went to, my brother was supposed to go with me, but I kind of expected that was going to fall through. And I kind of also expected that it would fall through at the last minute, so I wouldn't have time to find somebody else to go with me. So then this is one of those things. It's like, chicken versus the egg, right? It's like, was it my already accepting the idea that his wife and his daughter weren't going to let him go to the concert with me, or did that happen? Wait. Did that happen because I already had the assumption that it was going to happen, or the idea that it was a possibility, or I don't know. I think there should be another side to that, but I can't. I can't make it make sense. Anyway, whatever. Like, the way I keep seeing it is, was it just that I was so convinced that there was a good chance that was already going to happen, that was the thing that essentially sabotaged it for me? I feel like that would have happened either way in that situation. However, I did automatically assume from the get-go, or I knew from the get-go, that there was this strong possibility that I would end up going by myself. Anyway, I went by myself because, they told me there was some fair bullshit. They were at the fair with Gracie, and Gracie and her mom did not want to be done at the fair, and my brother was supposed to go to the concert with me. So all at once he's calling me, and I'm so sorry. Like, but I expected it, right? I was like, dude, if you would have said something like 2 hours ago, I might have been able to find somebody else to go with me. But, I threw a mention out on Facebook on, like, the Derby group. It's like, look, I have an extra ticket. I know there's, like, no chance anybody's going to find this. But if anybody happens to find this and wants to meet me there, I have another ticket, right? But I ended up going by myself. And it was fine. The comedian, I had no intention of asking anybody else to that one. I was like, fuck it, I'm just planning to go to that by myself. I will be fine. And this one, same thing. My brother and his family just moved out to Oklahoma anyway. Not that he would have gone. I mean, he wanted to. It's like falling in reverse, and I don't know who else is going to be there. But he wanted to go to that one. We kind of talked about it, and I was like, I refrained from getting a ticket for a long time because I was hoping something would come up so I wouldn't still be in this damn town. However, here we are. So, since we're here, when I got back from Oklahoma and I had the money for it because I got paid for the last little bit of working with Gracie, I was just like, I'm going to do it. Because I've spent all my time worrying about other people anyway. So, yes, I want to do something that I will enjoy, even if I have to go by myself. And I ended up paying the same amount that I would have for, like the concerts that I went to before, where I bought 2 tickets and then only used one. This time I only bought 1 ticket, but parking is now separate, so I had to pay for that. And I was just kind of like, well, fuck it, let's just splurge on the pricier parking so I don't have to walk so far by myself. I mean, not that I was concerned for safety or anything, but just since, hey, by myself anyway, and last time I wasted this money on tickets and nobody used them, so why not just spend it on parking for me? So I did it. But yeah, so, damn it, I want a shirt. Not that I need another shirt, but, concert shirt. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay, now, how did I wander that path? Oh, another thing I've been thinking about today, just a little bit, honestly. It's like, I feel like that little time at the storage unit. It's like I didn't do a whole lot other than move things around, take pictures of things, and then put them back. But I feel like just that little bit was enough to shift energy in me so that I was able, I'm able to think through this stuff better than I was earlier. My whole day was not super ideal. Okay, so I was up this morning from like 5:30 to 7:30, and then since I was writing, I got really tired, and I was still having some of that, pessimism hangover. So Wayne Dyer keeps coming up. I've talked about him a few times, I think, first time, first time, I think it was a Kyle Gray Divine Masters Oracle, maybe? That might be the deck. Where it's talking about a new teacher coming in, or somebody has a message from you. It might be someone that's already crossed over. And I didn't think anything of it. I'm just like, okay, whatever. I didn't make the connection until today that this is what that was referring to. Like the card that I pulled, like the things that have been going on have been part of that. So I got really into some of Wayne Dyer's work a couple years ago, right? So I don't know, somewhere in the past couple years anyway. And I was watching a lot of his stuff on YouTube, and there was a Hay House did something where he had like that's I think what started it. Hay House had some sort of writer's workshop that they did, and the first thing was watching a Wayne Dyer presentation that he had done when he was alive, and I don't remember what all it was about. In fact, I forgot all about that until I was just trying to figure out what got me into his stuff to begin with. But yeah, so I got really into everything he was talking about then I found him elsewhere on YouTube, and just like some, different things he was teaching, books, whatever. And I don't know why it fell off. I honestly don't. But for whatever reason, a couple weeks ago, it came back up. And on that end, I went to class, the Wednesday group, and people were talking about how, they wake up from like 2 to 5, and it's like, they sleep, they don't dream at all that they remember in that first sleep, but then if they like get up to go to the bathroom or whatever, then when they go back, they have like, that's when they dream, and that's when they have like really weird dreams and all that stuff. So they were kind of talking about that idea, and I mentioned that I don't have that experience. I said what I have is, usually if I get up in there at any time, I can't go back to sleep because my mind starts going, and I cannot shut it off until I spend so much time writing. So, when I'm talking about that, Annie commented about a young Wayne Dyer or something like that. And she said that, she heard something about, he always did like a lot of his writing in the early morning hours. It's like, well, I mean, I think there's lots of reasons for that. Lots of writers that do that even. But she mentioned it then. So that was the first thing that got Wayne Dyer back into my mind, right? Then, Saturday, I woke up at 6:30, I think, and was laying there, and it's like I was really tired, and I could have easily gone back to sleep, but I was thinking that I had wanted to do something different for August, and whatever reason, and I started thinking, Wayne Dyer came back to mind, and then I was thinking about the thing where I heard him talk about running every day, and then I was thinking, I love skating immensely, but at some point, I'm going to end up somewhere where it's not a feasible option, right? I mean, whether it's just I'm not taking I go on vacation, right? Maybe I go on vacation and I don't know if there's anywhere worth skating, or I just don't want to take my skating shit. But then I get there and I want to exercise or something, right? Running would be a good option. So I was thinking, maybe it's not that I need to skate like 4 times or better a week all throughout the month, which I fucked up when I, was skating without my pads on and then fell and busted my knee, both knees. And this is really annoying. Okay, see it on that. They've actually, my finger battle scars, you can't even hardly see them anymore, but they're really itchy. Like, this is the first time I've noticed it, where they're just like annoying the crap out of me because my fingers itch so much where they're healing from the scabby spots. But anyway, since I fell, and my wrist has kind of been jacked up too, it's not broken, but I made it even more sore, I think, a few times since then. Anyway, decided to take some time off from skating because of that, right? Because I had open scabs, or I had these open wounds on my knees. They were scabbed over, but skate off the freaking scab that way. Anyway, so Saturday, I wake up and my wheels are turning, and I'm thinking Wayne Dyer comes to mind, and then I'm thinking he talked about running all the time, and I think the thing that I watched said he was at a point where he woke up and every day he was running. And it's like, fuck it, I'm gonna run. So took Gidget with me and we ran, and it was as I've said many times, you would expect that some of the muscles from skating would be built up enough that they would translate to running, but when I was running, it did not feel like that was the case at all, so it was kind of sore. But anyway, I still went, and Gidget and I ran 2 miles, and then I came over here and walked my 3 and the little newbie in the house, and that was a disaster too. So when I'm walking the dogs, of course it's baseball season, and I don't even know what else is going on, but at least the baseball diamonds were packed, and these are the schools that, that's the big thing over here. There are baseball diamonds at the high school, relatively newer, I think, but this has always been anytime there's something with baseball, it's here. There's always a crowd here for baseball games and whatnot. So we're walking around the school. We're walking around the junior high, which is the horrendous building with the blue roof. It used to be brown. It used to be a dark brown color. It's well, that made more sense. I don't know why they painted it blue, but it's always been horrendous. I like blue. I just think it looks really weird on that building. But anyway, so we're walking around that school over by the baseball diamonds, and traffic's busy. There's lots of people. There's some woman on her phone over in this grassy area by where we're talking, or by where we're walking at. She's talking on the phone, and it would have been fine if she just would have stayed talking on her phone. But instead, she tries to also talk to me. And when she talks to me, Gidget and Taz get all sorts of excited because they want attention. So they make a beeline over to her, and Taz trips me, and I end up falling on my battle scars from skating. I end up falling with an audience. It's cool. This is great. Thanks, Taz. But also lady that I don't know, that really had no kind of exciting conversation. It was just talking about her mom walks her dogs a lot, and it's cool. Great. She asked if they were all mine. It's well, 3 of the 4, and the other one's the parents. So when I was done with that, it was a hot mess of a walk. And of course, it was even worse because I had taken Gidget running, so she's feeling like hot shit because she got to do something without the other 2. So she's trying to pull, and then Taz and Ziva are both pissed off that she got to do something that they didn't do. So they're also pulling. So it was just a big pain in the ass. And then I fell. It was just like, this all sucks. So when I got done, after my 2-mile run and it was like, not quite 7/10 of a mile dog walk. I got back home. I was so irritated. It's like, I'm gonna go skate because I gotta get that out of my system. That just pisses me off. Like, all of that was just So I came back over here and skated 4 miles. It's like, I don't know how much I'm skating, but I have to skate because I'm aggravated, and it's like the only way to get it out of my system. So I did. And cool. My line from my little thingy on my phone to my finger loop. My finger's locked up. Anyway, so my legs were really tired after that. And then I still went back, and I don't know how much I skated the next day, but it's like, I was around family, and also had cake because it was my cousin's birthday party, and it's like, gotta skate again. So yeah, but then I was thinking about it. It's like, okay, so obviously I'm not done skating, but I would like to add in more running. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do is make Wednesdays and Saturdays my running days. And it's really frustrating because I would like to take Gidget every time, and yet every time, that's why she's never gotten to consistently go run with me or anything, because she always comes back being a butthead because she got to do something the others didn't do, and they're pissed because she got to do something they didn't get to do. So it's just like downhill from there. It's like, I have not figured out the happy balance in being able to burn the energy off the highest energy dog that I have, and not having problems with the other two, which, you know, they're both high energy. Taz has a whole lot of quit on the moving. You know, like, anytime we walk where he can see the car, once he sees the car, he wants to make a beeline for the car, and he wants to be done. But if we like walk all the way around this whole area, it's like, I think the farthest we've gone staying on school property, and not that like there's more to it that we could have done, but I think the most that we have done was like 1.75 miles, and that's great, except for Ziva's 12, and if it's, you know, she's kind of hit and miss. So I think if we get over here at a time, there's not a whole lot of school or sports stuff going on. Probably make it happen more again, especially now that it's like in the 70s and feels like fall. I think she'll cooperate a lot more than when it's like 90. So we'll see. But we also have the new dog, right? So she did not go with us on our walk today. My aunt did, and her corgi, which it was fine. The part that was annoying, okay, my aunt has this thing of, if we go walking, she feels like the dogs need a pup cup. It's like, we don't need to get ice cream for them every time you come with us, just because it's like, your dog did this work that she doesn't normally do, so yay, ice cream. But that's kind of counterproductive to the exercise part of it that we're also trying to do, right? Either way, you know, so we got the ice cream. It's like, all I've had is junk today, and that's not been ideal. Anyway, not relevant. After that, I had stuff to take back to the library, and she kept saying, oh, well, we're going back to the library. I have like a coupon for free pizza that I'm supposed to pick up. So she volunteered to take my movies. 3 of them were overdue again. Oops. You have to stop making that a habit. And got carried away in talking to the girl she went to high school with. It's like, I'm sure she hasn't forgotten that we're out here, But she's definitely not paying attention to the clock and what time it is, because it was like 20 minutes we were still sitting there, and I finally sent her a picture of her dog dozing in the seat, and I think that was what jogged her up that, oh yeah, maybe we should leave. But it was kind of annoying because, like, I pulled up into the spot that was, like, the closest one to the building because I was just going to run up, put the movies in the slot, and go. Then she wanted to go in. So she went in and then forgot to come out. So there were several people came through, and as soon as Taz saw him, he started barking. So I had to be on high alert so I could pay attention to when somebody was coming, so I could start telling them to leave it so they wouldn't be barking the entire time. Eventually we did just roll up the windows and turn the AC on, which kind of sucks when it's like 70 outside and feels great. It's like 75. And it feels great, so it's like, fine. Shut everybody in here because him and Gidget are being assholes, and it's a healer thing. But yeah. How the fuck did I get there? I know it started with running and the Wayne Dyer stuff, and I know a big part of it was, okay, I think that's the thing that I've been thinking about, like, after I went to the storage unit and I drove past the house to come back over here and do this, was realizing that the card that I pulled from the Kyle Gray deck, I think it was, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what card it was. It was just talking about somebody crossed over has a message for you. And then it's like all these things, like Wayne Dyer keeps popping up, and like he keeps coming to mind. And it's like, that is exactly how some of this is supposed to work, right? So I got this message that somebody on the other side has a message for me, right? It's like, okay. And, it was talking about somebody who, or like even channeling somebody who did in their lifetime what you want to do in yours, which writing is a big part of that, right? So, so I was thinking about the writing end of things, and that was, honestly, that's a big part of what started me on a lot of stuff with the writing earlier on, but I didn't make the connection with Wayne Dyer until group, and it came up, and it's like, oh, this makes sense, but I didn't make sense of it as Wayne Dyer has a message for you until, I was driving over here. And then it's the thing, it's like, it's not because it's from him specifically, per se, it's he has stuff out there that I've seen or that I have access to finding where I can connect to something that he said, right? So, when I was struggling with my whole pessimism thing this morning, I did find one of his teachings. It was like an hour and a half, and it was talking about blocking your abundance and everything. It's like, clearly that is what I need to listen to, because this is what's going on today, is like waking up stressed out about like the question marks of where the money is going to come in at. And it's really frustrating that, like, as far as energetic exchanges, money is like the lowest form that there is, and yet it's so necessary in this space, right? This earth plane existence space. It's like, fuck. But then we block ourselves with like the poverty consciousness thinking and whatnot. That was like a big part of what he was talking about in the thing that I found this morning. I fell asleep listening to it, but it was like everything he was talking about, it's like, yep, I feel this, and I know I'm doing it. I know that I am blocking myself by worrying, and that was, I think there were a couple different things that I listened to of his this morning where it was talking about, worry, fear, all that is just an immediate blockage to the divine being able to get the resources you need and want to you. Like, it just automatically stands in the way as like the biggest obstacle of getting those things. So it's like, yeah, I know. It's like, how do you stop doing that when that's what you've always done? And I think that was even a thought that I had this morning, and excuse me. And then I've been listening to damn it. I've been listening to some Honest Guys meditations in the morning, and to try to set my day up better. You know, there's two that I've been going to. One of them is talking about manifesting your dream life, and it's like a half hour long, and the other one's like 15 minutes, and it is what is it? I forget what that one's called, but it's also talking about I think something about staying in the highest vibrational energy to draw in the good things. The it's not the bliss one, but the bliss one is the one I keep seeing. Because there's like 3 that I've listened to a bunch. The one's the blissful deep relaxation. That definitely, it's not been one of my go-tos here lately. I'll figure out what it is, and I'll like mention it in the freaking description on the video. But yeah, I don't know why that's so fucking complicated. Anyway, when I was thinking through this and how aggravating it is that this is a concern that I keep going back to, even though I know worrying about it only blocks the forward movement, right? And you know, it's kind of going back and forth with just this idea of being frustrated with going back and forth on this thing. And the Honest Guy's meditation, that, you know, there's a line in it where he says something about it's easy to shift back into the feeling of lack because the path is so well worn. And, you know, it's like, you know, he talks about like cutting your way through the brush and clearing and making a new path. And it's like, you know, it's difficult because you have to clear out all the junk that's blocking you on this new path, but yet the other path that you're so used to is so worn that's why it's easy to fall back into that way, that frame of mind, that way of being. It's like, yeah, I get that. So also it makes more sense how this whole clairaudience thing works, and it's literally just like the messages and like making sense of them as they come back along the way. So and like like that idea of Wayne Dyer has a message for me. It's like, is it that it's Wayne Dyer that has a message for me, or is it just Source saying, look into him because he has said things that have a message you need to hear? And I think that's more what it is. So yeah. Anyway. That's a big random tangent. Yesterday, when I ran without Gidget, which actually might be my way to go, because it's not distracting, and then we don't have fights later. But it still kind of sucks. However, there's no way in hell I'm going to try running all 3 of them. Or like Taz, you know, I tried skating with them all one at a time before. Ziva was okay, but she gets distracted, and it's like, you know, she's old, she doesn't want to like just run the whole time. Gidget was like, yeah, let's run. You know, but of course we can play ball in the backyard too. Taz was like, okay. Taz scared me a lot. First off, he like attacked my skate when I first stood up on them, and knocked me on my ass. But secondly, because when I did take him out for a very, very brief little time, I ended up like diving into the yard next to us at one point to slow down enough so I could turn around, because he's like, yeah, we're going fast. Fuck yeah. It's like, no, not that fast. So yeah. He's one, I've seen like these bikes where they have like a metal piece that you can attach to it, and like the dog is on like the little chain, but he got a decent distance away from the bike, so he's not going to get run over by the bike, because Taz absolutely would. But, he's held away from it enough that he would still be able to run and whatnot, but it's like, yeah, he would find a way to fuck that up. Because, like, honestly, today, when we were walking, he has this thing where he has to look, right? He's looking at everything. He's a healer. He's working, right? So that's his little, when we're out and about, that's his working. And at one point, he, like, looks back. He wants to see what the corgi's doing. My aunt's over off to my right, and he wants to see what she's doing. So he's on my left, looking over at the corgi, and walks right into my knee. It's like, damn it. It's like, this is why you don't get to do things. You, like, try to kill me in the process, and that's not fun. I'd rather not die when I'm walking my dogs. He's the one I tripped on, right? Yeah. It's like, if there's going to be a issue that takes me out, it's going to be him. Yeah. Gidget is really good about, like, being mindful with what we're doing. Like, I brought her over here when I was skating once. I did, like, 3 miles. She ran with me the first mile and the last mile. Like, the first mile, she was just like, what the hell is happening? What are we doing? I don't understand. And then when I left her in the car with the windows down, like, she was just like, the hell? I don't want to be here. So then when I got her out for the last mile, and she's like, all right, I know what we're doing. This is great. Let's go. But still, like, she knows that she will get run over or stepped on if she gets too close, and she has that awareness and is able to, that must be her Australian Shepherd mind, because it's not the blue heeler side of her. But yeah. Anyway. What the fuck was that all about? I just don't know. Might go ahead and call it, because I can't think of any. I trailed off. When I was running without her, that's what started that. When I was running without her yesterday, I would have these times where I would, like, she wasn't there to distract me with, slowing down and wanting to sniff everything where everybody else peed or whatever, or to stop and pee herself or whatever. Since I didn't have to worry about that, I was trying to push, how far can I push myself, right? So it's like, I start running, it's like, fuck, this sucks. But again, so my animal apothecary deck, there's this ostrich card, and it talks about perception, and it says that, if you are running up a hill and you perceive you're like, perceive it as really hard, and then, like, I'll look at it in that kind of frame of mind, it's going to seem way bigger and more imposing because you're already in that negative mindset, right? So that's, again, something that I've been working on breaking myself of, and I don't know that it'll ever be completely broken, but we're gonna work on it, damn it. Because the constant pessimism has definitely helped me not get very far in my current existence. So 42 years old, minimal to show for it. We're working on that. But it's taking a whole lot of fucking effort. But anyway, so the card comes into mind. So I'm thinking, I'm not trying to psych myself out. So I was trying not to do that. So I was like, okay, it's like, all right, I'm going to run. I'm starting to slow down. I feel like it's like, but I see this tree that stands out from the others. Maybe it's bigger. Maybe it's, a little skinny one. Or for whatever reason, it stood out. So I'm going to run to that point. Or there's a light post. So I'm going to run to the light post. And then, I just kind of keep trying to push it myself further by increasing the distance that I'm running. But it's like in small increments. So I really want to stop running, but I can make it to that light post. I really want to stop running, but I can make it to that next tree. I really want to stop running, but I can make it to a little skinny tree. Yeah, okay. So, like doing that kind of thing. And, of course, that intuitive voice always chimes in. And, so I'm having these kind of thoughts and going about this whole process like that. And, I was kind of feeling proud of myself too. And at one point, the voice chimes in and it's like, you got this. Good job. Starts like the encouraging thoughts and not just the detrimental ones, right? So I'm running along and get into the higher vibe, positive type side of the thought processing. So I'm running and all is well. And because my body is preoccupied with something, I can shift elsewhere in my thoughts, right? And, I talked about how, like, doing puzzles is something that I do as, like, a means of meditation because it's something to keep me engaged enough that my mind can kind of wander elsewhere. And skating is the same way. It's like, get myself out of my way so I can do these other things, right? And so, I start shifting into like the higher frequency state of being, if you want to call it that. And of course, it's always the twin flame stuff. And for lots of reasons. Mainly, divine counterpart. It's a part of you anyway, right? So, I talked about as above, so below, right? So, like, I carry him in my heart with me. So as I tune in more to my heart and get out of my head, stop following the ego, then I get the intuitive voice is essentially the heart speaking up, which is also source speaking up because it's something you carry within. Now, on the counterpart end of things, it's, two physical expressions of the same soul, right? Two incarnations of one soul and two bodies. That's the idea. And the whole, like the premise of the love piece, right? So the connection that I made a couple Junes ago, I was listening to, it's always music. I'm always listening to music on repeat, right? So I was listening to the song Take My Breath Away by Berlin over and over and over again one morning as I was getting ready to go sit with Gracie while my brother took his wife to work. And it just all at once hit me. It's like every single thing in my life that I've been through, good or bad, has led up to getting me to this point in my life. So it's like the whole story of my existence is essentially like a love story with the divine because, there's like a whole lot of suffering and all these heavy, complicated issues to work through, but those things have to, like, you have to go through them to clear them so you can get into the space where you can have like the divine love connection kind of piece, and then it was just like all at once it just like really hit me that God is love, love is God, love is all there is, right? So it's like when you, so for like the piece with the twin flame stuff, it's like your divine counterpart, like that connection when you unify the two aspects, but it's, the two aspects within yourself come into union, with both sides of yourself, which is complicated in and of itself. But like I've talked a lot on here about how I've always over-identified with the feminine aspect of myself for a long time before this twin flame connection came into my awareness. It was the distorted feminine, right? Because all the ways that I'm allowing myself to be scattered to the wind and, everything that chips away at the core of who I am because, I'm told that I have to be nice to everybody or, like there's always people that have the things to say about, you need to smile more or whatever, the dumb shit like that. It's like, because I was never taught to have boundaries, because that's not something this world wants women to have, boundaries. That's one of the means of keeping us locked into the distortion, because if we don't have boundaries, then we allow things to happen to chip away at, the core of who we are, which ultimately our heart space. The heart is like the most essential thing here, right? So, since I over-identified with the feminine side of myself, but yet the distorted feminine aspect, because, like the relationships I ended up in were not that good. Especially the last one, which is the one where I divorced my ex and also my entire belief system. So he was something that I needed to get to that point, because it was like, how far are you willing to go in allowing yourself to be treated like shit before something matters enough for you to start fighting for yourself, right? And start choosing yourself over the bullshit, right? And that, of course, has led me on this whole path of realizing how my family played into that as well. But then going back to the trying to unify the two aspects of myself. So the twin flame thing, it's always been something that has been a part of my life, though I didn't know it as twin flames until much later. And then I didn't know what it was. It just seemed like it was relevant for me somehow. So I didn't really understand it, but it's like, it resonates. So I feel like that is for me, right? But it makes perfect sense when I can go back to stuff that happened when I was 4 that made me much later, realize that I think he was checking in with me before he incarnated into a body, to make sure I was still, because free will is still a thing, right? You still have to choose that's the path you want to go. So, if when he checked in, I wasn't still wanting that path in life, or still wasn't wanting to go that way, then, that body could have gone to somebody else rather than my energetic divine counterpart match, whatever. Right? So, yeah. But since I was like all gung-ho, let's do the thing that ends in the big love story that's amazing, I was all about that. And, even when I'm being reminded of it's going to hurt, there's going to be a lot that is going to be painful. There's going to be a lot of that. But it will be worth it in the end. Yeah, let's do the thing, right? Let's go. I'm all about that one. The one that ends in the big, beautiful love story and all that stuff, right? So, so when I was 4, I wouldn't have known that as a twin flame thing. And it took a lot of different things coming together before I even made that connection. But, even then, all the things that I have come up about, I had the vision when I was 18, I saw my friend Tyler die. I knew he was going to die in our mid-30s, and it would be the thing that brought the group back together for a time. And then I would be 40 before I started to make sense of things, right? But what happened was, with Tyler's death, that cleared out, or that, since I was always afraid of death, my grandfather, my mother, that's been the thing. It's like they wanted to push that man needed to stay alive forever, even though you do not get to come to Earth and live forever. That's not how this works. So he was still obsessing over it. So him obsessing over it was basically sucking the life out of everybody else, but it was prolonging his, right? So when my great-grandfather died when I was 7, and then my grandfather moves back from Oklahoma, and then it's like this big obsession, and then everything becomes about death and blah, blah, blah. Okay. My great-grandfather died when I was 7. And because I took that especially hard, and, not from the death end of it, so much as having other energies latch onto me in that space. It is what I later realized, because, that's everybody with their extreme sadness. It's like what I felt like, okay, at the funeral, I don't remember much of it. I remember my mom asking me if I wanted to touch my great-grandfather's hand, and I said yes, but she did not warn me at all about, like the whole rigor mortis thing, and, the fact that he was going to be, like, freaking cold and stiff. Yeah, there was no warnings on that end, and it was just straight up, I think she got joy out of it, to be honest, that I was so traumatized in the moment. But beyond just the scariness of touching my great-grandfather's hand, and he doesn't feel like he did when, he's like, or when I'm like sitting on his lap and we're eating cheese puffs out of these old, like the real old Tupperware containers. There was an orange one that was my favorite. There was also a yellow one and a brown one and a green one. But they were like the tall and skinny ones, and they always had cheese puffs in them. And I would sit in his lap and we would watch TV with everybody there. It was, well, like my great-grandma and great-grandpa and my mom and dad and my brother and me. So, like, that was our weekends, right? So we would go down there. We spent a lot of weekends like that. So then, I don't get any kind of warning, and then nobody tells me what this death thing is or how it works or whatever, so it's this thing where I'm suddenly traumatized enough by this, but I think also because I was open, I was an open channel. I've been an open channel all my life, didn't understand what that meant until I've had to clear a lot of dense energies out of my system, and, haven't been able to make sense of that until, like, really, like when I started skating is when I really started figuring that out. But yes, going to, how did I get there? Right, so all the sad, heavy energies kind of latched onto me, and I had a great deal of trauma around death because everybody was sad, and I felt all the sadness. And, like, my mom always made a big deal about how she never heard anybody cry such gut-wrenching sobs or whatever as she heard from me. It's like, pretty confident she didn't try to do any kind of, like, come back down after that. I was just, I did the good thing. I was supposed to be that sad because somebody died. That was just the be-all, end-all. But I don't think it was so much the sadness over the death as much as the energy of everybody else being sad also latching onto me. Because transmuting, going back to my transmuter bit, where dense energies latch on and I have to figure out how to clear them, right? So when I was little, and nobody taught me that this was the thing that I needed to do, or to have boundaries or all this stuff, right? So of course I was locked in the distortion. So vision, when I was 18, my senior year in high school, the one with Tyler, okay, well, his death, since I had the visions together, there were 3 of them, his death in our mid-30s, and I would be 40 before I started to make sense of my life and anything. I thought that meant I was somehow responsible for his death, because I wasn't going to be able to do anything until after he died. What I realized it meant is that was the first person that meant a lot to me that died after my great-grandfather did. Of course, there were other people that died, but, like, there was a span of time, he wasn't the next. There was a span of time where, I'm wanting to say there was, like, 14 years passed between my great-grandfather's death and then my grandfather, my dad's dad, I think was the next one. And I think a big part of the gap was because I could not have handled it. It's like emotionally, energetically, all that stuff. I would not have been able to handle another death before then. right? Because I just had all this trauma around the idea of death because nobody really explained it. And, my family's been so locked into, you basically just pour all your life into keeping somebody else alive, and you're not supposed to have a life. You exist to keep other people alive longer. It's like, that fucking sucks. I disagree with that. So, however, not before I wasted a whole lot of years allowing that to be the case, and, allowing people to chip away at me and the essence of who I am and who I came here to be, because they wanted me to also be trapped in the distortion like they were. So, the vision with the 40, what that was that I would start making sense of it, right? So, Tyler's death, is like, see, my grandfather and my great-grandma died in 2010, Tyler died in 2018. Those were still big deaths, but they were older anyway, so Tyler meant more because he was younger than me, first off, but he also was so hugely important in my life, and, a big part of why I was so afraid of connecting with him was I was afraid that my sadness would contaminate his life, and it's like, I cannot do that to him because I thought he was living his dream. So it's like, if he's living his dream, I don't want to be the reason that, all at once he gets more sadness to hang on to because he opened up to us being friends later in life too, right? So I just absolutely avoided him like the plague because I was afraid of my sadness contaminating his life. But what I now realize is that I needed his death as a means of, because he was as important to me as he was, because he was somebody that didn't contribute to the bullying and all that stuff. It was like he made space for it to be okay for me to exist, and whatever flawed whateverness that I was, he was still, we were both the drum line captains, right? He had the drum line and the battery, I had the pit, but we were still a team. So counterparts in that way too. And that was part of the reason why I thought he was the counterpart, like the twin flame for a while. When I first, the twin flame terminology came up in 2013 before I married my ex-husband. No, 2012, before I married him. Met him at the beginning of the year, married him at the end of the year. Still not, there's a whole lot wrong with that, but also, I don't think, okay, a lot of people would say, well, you didn't really know each other very well, and then you got married really quick. It's like, well, yeah, that did happen, but at the same time, I feel like that was partly because I want to be able to believe in a connection so much that you just know at that point. What I know about that connection was that, because I was raised to believe that I needed somebody outside of myself to save me, and that I was essentially property of my father until I married my husband. Because of those two bullshit beliefs, which are absolute bullshit, by the way. It was like I found the worst possible option for me because I wanted it to be so obvious to my dad and my brother that he was not a good selection, that they said something. But the problem was, they didn't say something. So I did it anyway because I felt like I was stuck. But yeah, anyway. Tyler's death was the thing that I finally was able to, I was like, look, I don't know what's on the other side of death. What I do know is whatever's on the other side of it, anything that I would have denied or avoided talking to him about in person, he already knows. So from that frame of reference, there is no point in not owning up to the painful shit that I've been carrying by myself. And so I started writing him letters, and that was when I finally started putting down some of the baggage that I was carrying all my life, right? And so his death gave me the space to be able to start clearing some of that. And it was like making sense of a lot of things. And finally being able to take pieces of myself back from like the stupid shit that I, was so thought myself worthless because of or whatever. I started valuing myself more because I realized that what I'd been made to believe had happened hadn't actually happened. Right? So then, like, what do you do with that? You spend all your life believing something, and just to find out, when you're 35, that this thing that happened when you were 8 didn't actually happen, but yet everybody bought into it and convinced me that I was, like, a terrible person because of this thing that happened that didn't actually happen. So it's like, so then I was able to start gathering the pieces of myself back, right? All the pieces that have been chipped away over the years of all the bad beliefs, and every time, my family or other people in the community made me feel like shit about something or whatever. So when I got to be 40, I turned 40, and it's like, fucking 40 years old, and I got nothing to show for it. The hell, right? So I start setting these intentions, right? So I set the intention, with the nose ring and the lip ring, that I would never again work in a job that asked me to be anything less than 100% who I am. So once you set that intention, guess what happens? Everything that's not that starts falling away. So the job that I had where they didn't care that I had the piercings, they didn't care what my makeup or my hair looked like, as long as my hair wasn't going to be an issue for the job. That doesn't seem like they're asking me to be anything less than 100% who I am, except when I was listening to the music over and over again on my way into the building, and then all at once had the revelation that I go in looking like this, with my colors and everything, because I can't stand the idea of like dying along the way to work and I'm in my freaking work uniform. I'm not trying to do that. The world's gonna know what I fucking look like. In my last moments on Earth, I need to be all bright and colorful. So I refuse to wear the uniform, except for in the building, right? But because I was required to wear the uniform in the building, it didn't have to be worn in the building, it had to be worn on the work floor. So yeah, kind of in the building, but anyway, they didn't care what I came in as long as I was wearing the uniform on the floor. But it's like, that span of time is enough that I'm having to tone myself down because I can't dress how I want to on the floor, for the production line, obviously. The welding department, which, if you're going to fuck up a department, fuck up on a car part before it goes down the line, that's the space to, it's more forgiving, because it's like, very basic, stripped down metal. There's nothing exciting or fancy about it, and they're welding pieces together, so. But still, like, because I had to wear the uniform, it's like, well, this falls into that, doesn't it? That where I'm having to tone myself down, not because they have a problem with what I'm wearing, other than they don't want what I'm wearing to be a problem with with the car parts that I come into contact with, right? So, like in the last apartments, after it's been all painted and all that stuff, it's much more of an issue if you fuck something up. But like welding, you can usually whatever. Anyway, yeah. And so that was like one of the first things that had to go. It's like, and then also I was watching the Love Again movie with my mom, and then it was like, so maybe I'm, listening to a lot of Abraham Hicks at the time too. Maybe I'm ready to be ready to start considering, like, relationships again. But I've done really bad on my own in that department, so maybe I'll just turn that over to the universe and let the universe take the lead on it, right? So, like, what happened was when I hit 40, where things started coming together was I started setting intentions, I started turning things over to the universe and asking for guidance to do what I was supposed to do, right? So, and, like, making more sense of things. So then it was only after turning my love life over to the universe, which, I'd already set the intentions, and it didn't happen immediately. It was like, because I got the lip ring and the nose ring, I think, the end of August, and then it was like mid to end October that I left. So it was pretty quick, but it still wasn't like just bam bam. There were still other lessons to be learned and other things I had to make sense of first. But when I turned my love life over, it's like, well, also, so let's just throw the career in on that too. So the universe gets to lead on that as well. Which kind of makes sense why it's been a big question mark. I mean, it's not really a question mark. It's like, I know I've seen various things that I will be doing. Writing's part of it. Art is somehow part of it. But, like, I don't draw, so it's not that kind of art. Like, I'm into, like, the painting and the big colorful stuff. And I am my own art project from time to time. So, we're on a daily basis, really, except for when I choose not to mess with the makeup. And I'm less loud when I don't have the leggings. But, it's in the 70s again. So if I'm just hanging outside with the dogs and it's breezy, yesterday I found out it was kind of chilly and I want those back. So we're back to leggings. But, like, I'm much more colorful when I get to do what I want to do. That wasn't what I meant to say there, but I don't remember what I was trying to say. The love and career thing, right? Turning that over to the universe. So that's what happened. So, right? But Tyler's death was the thing that made space for me to start putting down all the shit that I was carrying. Right? So it's like, just making sense of it. And of course, I think I mentioned in this video, or it might have been one of the other ones that I tried today, that, the twin flame piece came up after I committed my love and career life over to the universe to take the lead on. Then, this like song comes up across my freaking Instagram thing, and he's got like some, it's him singing a song, and it's like, I started listening to his music before. Is this a new one? And I looked back and it's like, nope, this is on my playlist from when I found his music before, and started like, adding a bunch of their stuff or his stuff to my playlist. And it's like, okay, but why didn't it stick then? And I think the big thing was that was like, it's kind of waiting on me to make or set to the intentions, right? And then once I turned into letting the universe lead, then the song comes back up, and as I start listening to it, I find it on YouTube, I start watching the video and listening to the song over and over again, then it just all at once, that intuitive voice chimes in with, that's him, that's the one you've been looking for all your life. And it's like, yeah, right, he's out of my league. And the immediate response was, of course, are you going to let us do this, or do you want to try it your way again? Because that's worked so good, or so well before in the past, right? Be tripping on my words. But yeah, so it's like, I mean, what do I have to lose, right? So it's like, this whole journey has been rediscovering parts of myself that I'd lost to conditioning and bad belief systems and, just bad ideology, and taking myself back and valuing myself more. And it's like, interesting. But yeah, on that note, since we're at an hour and a half, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And it's like pushing, it's 7 now. Should maybe go find food, because all I've had today, I had a donut, and I realized that was a very bad idea. but they were donuts, so I was like, what the fuck, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna grab this. So I grabbed it, and I got to the car after I ate it, and my aunt was in the car waiting on me at that point, because I had the dogs in the car, and she walked across the yard and was in the car, and I said I was going to go get my water and dog water and all that stuff, and the movies that I had to take back to the library, and so she stayed in the car. When I got back to the car, it's like, I said, I just ate a donut, and I really should not have. But then the only other thing I've had since then is ice cream, so that wasn't ideal either, so I should find real food. Be a little more ideal than that. I went to the doctor the other day, and she asked me like how my digestive system is doing and all that. It's like, I said, so about that, I said, I feel like the issues that I'm currently having is because my body is is demanding that I start stepping it up on what I ingest. I said, because, I'll have stomach issues if I have the sugary stuff, but at the same time, it's like, that stuff is like a big part of, I had a freaking Dr. Pepper habit for a long time because of my spending all this time with my mom and my aunt, and they were all into their Diet Coke and everything. It's right. It's like, once I stopped doing that, once I started skating, it's like I started needing, like, pineapple. I love pineapple. That's my go-to. But, like, that's the biggest thing. And I started, having a lot more, like, fruits and vegetables and stuff. It's like, I feel like a big part of it is because I've made other changes, my body is rejecting the sugary shit now. Where it's like, maybe you can have a little bit, but you need to fucking stop that and eat better. Because, I feel like shit when I have too much of the junk. It's really, yeah. Anyway, something I need to work on. Anyway, as I said before, I'm going to wrap this up now. As always, I appreciate you. Until the next time. See ya.